Did you know that nearly 300,000 people per year die from debt? And I'm not talking about financial debts. I'm talking about calorie debt, otherwise known as being overweight and being obese. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what calorie debt is, help you determine how much calorie debt you are in, how you can get out of it, and how you can get to a healthy body weight and stay there long term. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Joey Yochheim. I'm the co-owner of defaultkings.com. We are an online men's fitness coaching company that has helped nearly 600 men at this point lose anywhere from 10 to 188 pounds and actually keep it off sustainably long term. So when it comes to all things weight loss and fat loss and sustainable health and fitness, I tend to have a general idea of what I'm talking about. And so I want to share some of that with you in this video. So let's dive in. Now, first things first, I want to draw the comparison, and I have the numbers in front of me. I want to draw the comparison between finances and your weight. So from a financial perspective, let's start with the example of you are somebody that makes $10,000 a month. If you spend $15,000 a month, you have overspent by $5,000. You are $5,000 negative on the month, $5,000 in debt. And for those of you finance bros, we don't need to get into the specifics. I understand that it could have been a loan, it could be credit card debt, it could be you borrowing money from other people, it could be money that you pulled out of your savings. Let's just play with this illustration for a second before you guys get all, angry in my comments, you spreadsheet accountant guys, okay? We love you, but play with me here, okay? You're $5,000 in debt on the month. Over the course of a year, you're $60,000 in debt. Over the course of 10 years, $600,000, 20 years, $1.2 million, okay? You see the picture. Now, thinking about your weight and thinking about calories. If your calorie needs are 2,000 a day, and not everybody's calorie needs are 2,000 a day, we're just using it for math. It's an arbitrary number. Over the course of a month, that means you have a calorie limit of 60,000 calories. But let's say you eat 2,500 calories a day when you're only supposed to be eating 2,000. Over the course of the month, that means you have eaten 75,000 calories, which puts you in the hole on the month, 15,000 calories. You were supposed to have 60,000, you had 75,000, you're 15,000 calories in the hole. And don't let the pluses and the negatives between finances and your calories confuse you, because financially going into debt, you go into the negatives. Calorically going into debt, you go into the positives, you go over. By the way, that's not hard to do. If you've ever tracked calories, you know how easy it is to go 500 calories over. You could just simply not track your beverages, your condiments, or your cooking oils, and you're going to magically be 500 calories over. And if you haven't tracked your calories and you don't know how easy it is to go 500 calories over, start tracking your calories and see how easy it is to go 500 calories over per day. And you will be surprised. So this was not hard to do. It was not hard to get into 15,000 calories of debt on the month. Extrapolate that out over the course of a year, it's 180,000 calories. If you're like, dude, what does that mean? Like, what's it, 180,000 calories in debt? Like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, what is that? Look at it through this lens. 3,500 calories is 1 pound of fat. So if you do 180,000 divided by 3,500, it works out to roughly 51-ish pounds on the year. This is how people gain 50 pounds in a year. I talk to so many people that are like, dude, I don't know how it happened. I eat generally good. Like most of the time I'm good, but somehow I've gained 50 pounds. And it's like, dude, it's not that difficult. If you just eat 500 calories more than you need per day, based on this example, like you could easily be 51 pounds over fat over 1 year. And then you extrapolate that out over 10 years, 20 years. It's very easy to do. And the reason I paint the financial picture and the weight loss picture together is because everybody understands finances, right? It's black and white. But people seem to think that weight loss and calories, there's a lot of gray area, and there's not. It's just as black and white as financials. If you spend more than you make, you go into debt. If you eat more than you need, you get fat. That's what happens. The difference is one of them makes you broke, one of them kills you. So you should probably take the one that kills you pretty serious, because I know you take the one that makes you broke really serious, but one literally puts you on your deathbed. So you should probably consider the implications of it. Okay, now moving on. How much caloric debt do you have? You find this by finding your current weight and height, and then finding a healthy weight for your height. How do you find a healthy weight for your height? Very common question I get asked. What should my body weight be, Joey? Well, we have this thing called BMI, body mass index, that tells you whether or not you are at a healthy weight, overweight, obese, or severely obese, or underweight on the other side of it. And it's a great indicator. But a lot of people complain about it. They're like, that's a flawed metric. It's a bad statistic because it only considers height and weight. Yes, it only considers height and weight. But there's a reason that it's used by the medical field as an indicator of longevity and mortality. It's a big indicator for how long you're going to live. If you're overweight, you're giving your internal organs more than they are designed to handle. So your odds of dying early go up. Okay? The only people that I hear complaining about BMI are people that go and do their BMI and it says they're overweight. And they're like, I'm not overweight. Yeah, you are. There's a 98% chance you're overweight and you have too much mass on your frame if it says so. And I'll get into more on the specifics of that in a little bit. But you have to understand that BMI is a good indicator. I'm going to have my editor put a graph of BMI here up on the screen so you can maybe pause it and figure out where you're at. But this is a whole graph that shows you green, yellow, orange, red, healthy, overweight, obese, severely obese. And if you want to be at a healthy weight, you need a BMI of somewhere between 18 and 24. So if you have more than that, I have news for you. There's a very, very strong chance that you have too much mass on your frame. Okay. Now, again, how much calorie debt do you have? So we just talked about it. You got to find your current weight and height. You got to find the healthy weight for yourself. Then you got to find the difference in pounds, and you multiply the difference in pounds by 3,500 because we just learned that 3,500 calories is 1 pound of fat. So you find out how many pounds of fat you're overweight, multiply it by 3,500, that's your caloric debt. Now, for example, somebody that is 250 pounds at 6 feet tall, which is a pretty general metric. There's a lot of people that are around 6 feet tall and 250 pounds. A healthy weight, according to BMI, for somebody that is 6 feet tall is anywhere from 130 to 180 pounds. So bare minimum, if you are 6 feet tall, you should be targeting 180 pounds, bare minimum. What is the difference between 250 pounds and 180 pounds? It's 70 pounds. So you multiply that by 3,500. 70 times 3,500 equals 245,000 calories in debt. Sorry, I wasn't looking at you that whole time. I didn't want to mess up the math that I had in front of me, okay? But think about that. 245,000 calories in debt. Imagine if you were $245,000 in debt. How much urgency would there be? There'd be a lot. But again, the difference is the financial debt makes you broke. Caloric debt kills you. It literally puts you on your deathbed. Cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, all of it. Go down the line. Now, are there exceptions to this rule? Like I said, there are anomalies that BMI isn't great for. I'm one of them. I'm 10 to 15 pounds over my BMI. But I'm also 13% body fat and have abs and muscle mass. So I'm an anomaly. The reality is there's a 98% chance that you are not an anomaly. And I use 98% as a legitimate number. That's not hyperbole. That's legitimate. And I get that number because only 2% of the population has visible abs. And visible abs typically happen around 15% body fat, which is a good indicator of leanness. It's the number that we target with our clients when somebody's trying to get lean is, hey, let's get to 15% body fat. That's a great metric. And once you get there, you typically can see ab formation. And since only 2% of the population can see ab formation, that means 98% of you aren't lean enough to be saying, well, I'm an anomaly for BMI. You're not. You're not. If you are sub 15% body fat, you can get away with probably 15 to 20 pounds over what your healthy range is. Okay, you can get away with it. Now, the counter I get to this is always, and this might be you, and if it is you, let's debate, brother. What about bodybuilders? And you might be a bodybuilder yourself, right? And you're like, I'm 50 pounds over what BMI says, and I'm an anomaly. You're not an anomaly. Would I rather you be 50 pounds overweight because you have muscle mass than fat? For sure, but you're still not an anomaly. You're overweight. Your body is designed to endure a certain amount of mass and a certain amount of force against it. And so if BMI says you're overweight or obese, you are. Would I rather it be because of muscle mass if you're a bodybuilder or something like that? For sure. Right? So if you're a guy that's 10% body fat watching this and you're like, dude, I'm 70 pounds over what BMI says and I'm a jacked bodybuilder, congrats. But there's a reason that bodybuilders drop dead early quite often. Your heart is not designed to handle more than it's designed to handle. Is it worse if it's from fat? Yeah. But it's still too much, even if it's muscle mass, okay? So you can get away with a little bit more if you're sub 15% body fat, but you still shouldn't be sitting there way overweight and being like, well, it's muscle, bro. It's still too much, okay? Now, how do you actually get out of calorie debt? You get into a calorie deficit. That's it. Everything that you see that's a solution on the internet, whether it be like intermittent fasting or keto or carnivore, these are all just Trojan horses for a calorie deficit. The reason somebody loses weight intermittent fasting is because they're only eating 6 hours a day. Do you think you're going to eat more calories if you eat for 6 hours a day or if you eat for 16 hours a day? You end up just eating less. Keto, the reason people lose weight on keto is you eliminate an entire macronutrient group, carbs, and so of course you consume less total calories, so you lose weight. Right? Carnivore, again, you're eliminating an entire nutrient group or an entire food group, so of course you eat less total calories and get into a deficit. The answer is a deficit. However you get there, it doesn't necessarily matter. I have my favorites, and I definitely don't encourage my clients to do intermittent fasting, keto, carnivore, whatever. But the reason those things work is because they get you in a deficit. So the deficit is the actual cause. Right? The mechanism in which you get into a deficit doesn't really matter. It just matters that you're in a deficit. That's how you get out of calorie debt. How big of a deficit should you be in? Well, let's roll with the example that we have. So somebody that was 6 feet tall, 250 pounds, and needed to get to 180 pounds, had 245,000 calories of debt. Okay, let's just use a calculator. 245,000 calories of debt. So you determine how fast you want to lose that weight, and that's how big of a deficit you need to be in. Okay, so 245,000. Okay, let's say you want to lose all of that weight. You want to lose 70 pounds in a year. You divide that by 365. That means you need to be 671 calories in a deficit every single day for a year to lose 70 pounds. That's your target. Right? And you're going to be like, well, Joey, how do I know if I'm 671 calories in a deficit? You start tracking your calories, brother. You start doing it. Nobody likes doing it. But guess what? How do you expect to get out of debt if you don't know your numbers? If you were $245,000 in credit card debt, but you didn't know how much money you were making or how much money you were spending, how would you expect to get out of debt? The same thing is true for your weight. You need to start running the numbers. You need to know exactly how much you weigh. You need to weigh yourself every single day, and you need to know exactly how much you're eating. And you need to track every single calorie that goes in your mouth until you're out of debt. Once you're out of debt, then you get the freedom of intuitive eating. I don't think you should eat intuitively until you've earned intuitive eating. Intuitive eating is what made you overweight. So you can't just be prairie dancing through fields trying to lose the weight, because that's how you got overweight. Track it all, get down to a healthy body weight, and then you have a little bit more freedom and flexibility. Okay? But this target of 671 in a deficit every single day, how you determine that is based on something called total daily energy expenditure. The total amount of calories that you're burning in a day. Joey, how do I calculate that? Go to an online calculator, just any one, and type in all of the metrics that it asks you for, and it will spit out two numbers for you. It will spit out your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, which is your baseline calorie needs every single day. And then it'll have some sort of activity multiplier that asks you, how active are you? And based on where you fall on that spectrum, it'll say multiply your BMR by this much to get your total daily energy expenditure. So let's say it tells you your total daily energy expenditure is 2,500. You would do 2,500 minus 671, and that is how you would get out of calorie debt. You would just eat whatever that number is every single day. Now, are those calculators perfect? No, they are not. But it's a good baseline. And here's how you know if it's working. You're losing weight. If you're not, it's not working and you're not in a deficit. What could have gone wrong? Well, there's two things that could go wrong. One, the calculation was incorrect. Two, you're tracking improperly. And chances are, it's more likely that you're tracking improperly. You're either not tracking everything, or you are tracking everything, but you're just putting them in wrong in the software. Because there can be a lot of human error here. So you need to educate yourself on how to do that. I probably should make a whole video on how to properly track. But if for some reason you're stepping on the scale every single day and the weight's not going down, you're just not in a deficit, brother. So you either need to drop your target until you start losing weight, right? Or you need to increase your activity levels to burn more and create a bigger deficit for you, right? Or some combination of both. Right? So how you get out of calorie debt is literally by tracking the debt. Weigh yourself every single morning. Eat whatever that calculation comes out to you for, your calorie debt divided by how many days it takes that you want to lose it in. So if you want to lose it in a year, divided by 365. And then you find your TDEE and you subtract the daily deficit that you have to have based on that calculation. And then you start tracking it. That's it. And once you get to that goal body weight, a healthy body weight for you based on your BMI, then you can transition to something like intuitive eating, which I have a video on my channel about that. I'll have the editor put it somewhere on the screen here or in the description, okay? But that's it. So that is an entire video on exactly what calorie debt is, how to get out of it, and how to get to that healthy body weight. Okay? Now, if you're interested in having help navigating the nuances of all of this, because obviously there's some gray area here, all you need to do is just go to defaultkings.com and book a free fat loss assessment. You're going to talk to either myself or somebody on my team about exactly how we can help you navigate the gray areas, get to a healthy body weight, and stay there long-term using our default actions framework. Okay, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, comment, send it to your friends, do all the YouTube stuff, and I will see you in the next video.